Good morning, everyone. It's Chrissy Ann, spiritual grief coach, and today I am guided to come back and start more videos, but also to talk about today, what a grieving person is really asking, and that is to meet me in my pain. And this has been coming up a lot for me lately in my awareness to talk about. So here I am today to talk about it. Earlier this week, I had a healing from an amazing woman, Maris Leblanc, and it brought up some stuff from childhood, some grief that I had still been holding on to, and it was all because no one witnessed me at that time. And so that really hits home with me. A video that a beautiful grief ambassador as well, Estelle Thompson, no P, Art and Yoga, she posted this video from Refuge in Grief about how we can really support people who are grieving. And it really resonated with the video and with the posting and everything that's been going on in my awareness lately. I was like, this needs to be talked about. So here I am. We're going to talk about that today. So I'll post the link to Refuge in Grief if you want to check out her page, and also the video is on my page if you want to check it out. And also I will put the link to Estelle Thompson Art and Yoga as well, because she's a beautiful grief ambassador that, if you want to follow, she's very inspiring, and I love her, so I want to share her with the world. So I want to begin by sharing my experience as a child, 11 years old. So I'm going to bring you back. 11 years old. My grandfather, he is my best friend. He lives 2 houses away. He is a big part of my heart, and he suddenly passes away. I come home after school one day and something doesn't feel right. Well, I knew something didn't feel right because at the time I was in grade 6 and my uncle was my teacher. So his son, my grandfather's son, was my teacher. And shortly before class was about to end, somebody came in and got my uncle, and he turned white, completely white. And I was like, okay, something is not right. And I didn't, I kind of just acknowledged that and then went about the rest of my day. And then when I got home from school, Mom was home. So something wasn't right. And she said, come in, sit down, I got to talk to you. So she says, Grampy is gone. And I'm sit here like this, like a deer in headlights, not, hearing, but not hearing. And suddenly I remember I became an observer of the room. I was looking from above. I saw myself, I saw my sister, and I saw my mother. And my mother was like, Grampy is gone. He's gone. And she kept explaining what was happening. And I remember just hard time processing the information. And I remember I even sat down on the rubber plant beside the couch. So I missed the couch completely and sat down on the rubber plant. And I remember my sister laughing at me because she was very young. She was younger. I was 11. She was 3 years younger. And I remember all that and feeling lost and feeling like not quite understanding. And then nobody really talked about it after that till I was older. And in our family, our belief was we don't expose children to death. Children are young, they're vibrant, they're happy. Let's not introduce them to something so sad. So it was never really talked about. I don't recall going to any of the funeral arrangements. Hi, Tammy. And so I remember, that was kind of like the end of it. And I had all this stuff going on inside, and I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to put voice to it. I didn't know how to process it. And without going to any of the funeral arrangements, I had no way to process that. So then shortly after that, a few months after, my parents say, you're going to go to Birchbound. You're going to go to this school to learn French because we live in a bilingual province. It's smart, and you're a smart kid. You have good grades. You can handle this. But none of your friends are going. So that was all I had left, was my friends. That's who I was, 11 years old. That's who I was. And none of them were coming with me. So I got upset and I was mad, but it was not up for discussion because it was a smart thing to do. So again, nobody acknowledged what was going through me. I had all this, as you can tell, it's still kind of sitting there. It's like, I talk about it and it brings me right back to that moment, where I have all this sadness and this grief and this despair flowing through me. And these people that I love aren't looking at me. They're not seeing me. They're not seeing what I'm going through. They're not meeting me in my pain. They're not hearing me. They're shoving me aside. And really what they think they're doing is by making these boundaries of not stepping into the pain or not stepping into that acknowledgement or discussion, that they are making me feel better because we're not dwelling in it. We're not talking about it, when it's absolutely the opposite. What was happening and what I realize now, decades later, that by that misbelief of avoiding the pain, of not talking about it, it jarred it up. It jarred it up inside of me. And, at 12 years old, I started that new school, and I'm a really, likable person. I make friends very easily. I had lots of friends at this new school, but I was lost. I didn't know who I was. I had all this pain inside. I didn't know how to voice it. I didn't know what to do. So what did I start doing? I started numbing it. 12 years old, I started drinking. It's all that I could do to make myself feel better. It temporarily softened the pain enough to function. And nobody knew this. I mean, my friends knew it. My family had no idea. And as the years went on, it did go into drugs and a deep depression, suicidal thoughts, and I had this whole world going on inside. Yet my family had no idea because I wasn't putting voice to it, and there wasn't a space for anybody to hold, for them to witness me in my pain. So I didn't know what to do with it. So I lived with this for decades. The numbing, the alcohol, the drugs turned into workaholism. So I stopped drinking, I stopped doing the drugs, but I was working way too much, and I was shopping way too much, and then I was eating way too much. And it just turned into this cycle of numbing. And it wasn't till I lost my son, my firstborn baby, to a stillbirth at 34 years old, that I said, you have no choice but to witness me. I would cry when I needed to cry. I would say what I needed to say and do what I needed to do, just automatically. It's like he gave me this gift of, here, open your heart and show it to the world, and without compromise. Without compromise. Don't allow anybody to shut your heart up, to shut the grief off. Allow the tap to flow. Move through this. Mom, you've got this. And it was the first time that I realized how essential it is to feel what we feel and to put voice to it and to be witnessed by people that we love, that care for us. So the importance of being there for someone. We're unsure how to do it. We've never been taught how to do it. So of course, it's awkward, it's uncomfortable. But grief is not fun. It's a part of life though. We're all going to experience grief. None of us are immune to it. So why don't we embrace it? Why don't we be there for each other? Let's let go of what we've been taught of, when someone's crying, to hug them and say, don't cry. It's going to be better. Hold them and say, cry. Let it all out. I am here to hold you while you cry. And if you start to cry, cry with them. Allow them to witness you back. It's okay. It's water. It's just water, but it's emotion flowing through. It's coming out. hold that space. Start switching your thought of what you should do when someone's grieving, and think about how you can witness them, how you can really hear them, because that's what they need. They need you to hear them without giving them a remedy, without judgment. Every loss is different, and a loss doesn't necessarily mean a loved one. It could be a loved one. I mean, everybody experiences that in a lifetime. It could be loss of health. It could be loss of your identity. You don't know who you are anymore. It could be loss of a job. It could be loss of finances. It can be a loss of a pet. It could be loss of anything. What's important is what's flowing through you. So whatever experience you've had, whatever changes of circumstances that you've had has triggered this grief inside of you. And if you haven't dealt with grief in the past, it's triggering all of it. Grief is like an experience, it becomes like a pearl. And when you don't deal with that grief, that pearl stays. And then you have another experience and a grief comes and you don't acknowledge it and you're not witnessed, and another one comes and another one and another one. And all of a sudden, this pearl, this necklace is so heavy. Your body's heavy, your life's heavy, you're just moving through life like this numb, like this robot, your to-do list. That's what happens until you open your heart up to what's going on. And for me, it was that catalyst of the loss of my stillborn son. And now I'm going back healing everything till I was 11 years old. And it was really this week when I had that healing that it really hit home that I was holding on to the death of my grandfather and to the language of French, moving schools and learning that language. I had 3 years of courses in that language in French. I went to high school and took a course a semester. I went to university and I was one course away from minoring it, but yet I couldn't speak it. I had a hard time putting voice to it because I had all this grief attached to it that no one had witnessed, that no one had acknowledged, and no one would hear me on. So I couldn't speak it. So now I'm just starting to acknowledge that and starting to heal it, and we're 30 years later. So if you know someone who's grieving and you want to be there for them, it's not about cheering them up. It's not about turning the tear tap off. It's about holding space for them. It's about grounding yourself first in the moment. So take a deep breath in. And as you breathe out, breathe down through your body, through your legs and into the floor. Put yourself right there in front of them. And then give them permission to share their heart. Say that you're there to hear them, to listen. You're that shoulder for those moments that you're in front of them or on the phone with them. Give them permission to put voice to what they're going through. And then listen. But listen with your breath. That deep breath, just be with it as they share their words with you. And if there's a moment of silence, let it sit if you have nothing to say. And remember, you're listening without remedy. You're not listening to give them a solution. You're listening to say, I hear you. I validate you. I see what you're going through. And yes, it is hard, but I love you and I hear you. There's no remedy. There's no solution. There's just holding space and there's listening to them. And when you listen to them that deeply, you hear your body. Your body will talk back and it will give you the words you need to share also for your healing. And remember, when people share their story, at times it sparks things in you. And what sparks in you is your story. And if tears come, allow them to come and witness each other together. It's time. If it comes up, it's time. That listening, that deep, deep listening and that validation is so important to be there for someone. It's meeting them in their pain. And this is how you can help them heal. And for yourself, give yourself permission to tell others what you need. Because remember, we haven't been taught how to deal with this. So they're tripping over themselves, they're uncomfortable, and they're trying to make you feel better because they care about you. So what's coming out of their mouth is with intention of love to make you feel better. But it's not making you feel better when they say don't cry, or, like, what can I do to cheer you up? Or, it feels like they're shutting you down. So tell them, all I need is for you to witness my pain. And this is how you can do it for me. And I remember after losing Carter, like, all of a sudden I had this power to tell people what I needed. And people, tears make people uncomfortable. And I said, look, I need to cry. And the best thing you could do for me right now is let me cry. And it is amazing how much better I felt after those moments, but also them, because it gave them permission to cry, because they've been taught not to cry. So me healing the loss of my son the way I needed to gave permission for everybody else to do the same. And I knew that when they were healing the loss of my son, because they've been touched by that, they were also healing that entire pearl of grief they've been carrying their entire life. They were starting to heal each piece and let it fall and let it be lighter. So know that you too can ask for what you want. Don't always depend on the other person to know exactly what you need. But it's all about honoring how you feel inside and being witness for that with truth and authenticity. There's no need to hide how you feel from anybody. And if there is someone that you feel unsafe in sharing, then ask for guidance to someone who is safe for you to listen. And please reach out. I am here. Message me. And I have a talk coming up. It's called Let's Talk Grief Brunch. It's September 13th here in Moncton, New Brunswick at 11 a.m. at Cora's on Mapleton. And we're going to have this discussion. We're going to talk about grief. We're going to take it from an intellect to a spiritual perspective. We're going to talk about what's missing in the conventional grieving, why everybody is holding on to it. So please join us. I'll put a link to the event below, or message me if you want. I would love to have you there. Love to open this discussion. We have a great group already coming together. So it's exciting to be able to open our voices about this and finally have this conversation. So please, if you have any questions, any comments, please put them in and I will take a look at them. If not, message me after. But I do want to share with you, I did a card reading right before I came online, and it was from James Van Prague's Soul Journey deck. And this is what came up. Discipline. So discipline, I can accomplish what I set my mind to. So in terms of this talk, it really reminded me of the boundaries that we can set and the permission to ask for what we need when we're grieving. So you can set your mind to those boundaries and to that healing, and to really ask for what you need. It's something new. It's something we've never been taught. So at first you need to be disciplined to ask for that help, and also disciplined in being there for someone. I remember relearning how to be there for someone, and it was uncomfortable because I wanted to shut off the tears, and I wanted to tell them not to cry, and I wanted to tell them everything was going to be better. But I knew after hearing it, very aware after losing my son, that those were not helpful. So I actually had to bite my tongue, allow silence to happen for me to switch gears and hold space the way they really needed me to. So I had to be disciplined, not only to be there for myself, but to be there for others. And judgment. I understand that everyone has their own unique path and challenges. So this reminds me that grief is everything that weighs heavy on your heart. It's anything and everything. There's no grief that is heavier or more important or less important or more tragic or less tragic. It's all different. So comparison of grief serves no one. And it's all about what's flowing through you and flowing through them. So if they're sharing your story and you have a voice in your head that says, well, that seems really silly to be upset about, Well, what's flowing through them is not silly. It's heavy, it's important, and it needs to be witnessed. And the same thing about your loss. You hear someone else's, so you start discounting yours. Well, my loss isn't that bad as hers. I shouldn't be this upset. Well, yes, if what's flowing through you is heavy and this sadness, this despair, this sorrow, then yes, it is valid. This is how you feel. It really has nothing to do with the definition of the experience or the change in circumstances on the degree of how you feel. How you feel is how you feel, and the degree is inside in terms of emotion and how you feel. So get out of your head on defining your grief and go into your body and be with it and feel it. So judgment. Pride. I love myself and I see myself in everyone. So grieving is a great act of self-love because you need to listen and give what you need. You need to have complete compassion for yourself. And when you see others grieving and you're holding space for them, it's the same thing. You're loving yourself enough to be there to hold space for them, but you're also loving them. But you're seeing yourself in them. Things will be triggered through their experiences. Because when we share our stories, it's healing for everyone. So whoever ends up in front of you sharing their story, it's for you too. So allow whatever flows to flow, but allow that love to be in that conversation and to hold ground. So hold ground for someone with pride. And then the last one that fell out was surrender. I can release my need to control. Oh, how we like to control how things go and how our day goes. We just want our day to go great, go smooth. And then all of a sudden you end up in traffic you didn't expect, or you miss the road that you're supposed to go down, or you spill your coffee on yourself, or you find out that your job's over in 2 weeks, or you find out a loved one has passed, or you get a diagnosis. You can't control these from happening, and you can't control what flows through you. So surrender to it all. It's so much easier than trying to shut it off and trying to control it. So I thank you for listening today. And I feel like I'd like to give a little meditation. If you're open to it, please stay and breathe with me. So find a comfortable spot, sit up straight, and I invite you to close your eyes. Connect with your breath. Notice your in-breath and your out-breath. Just be with your breath. Feel your seat. And start to deepen that breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And bring your breath down to your belly, to the base of your spine, and breathe there. Another one in and out. So at the top of your head forms this pink ball of light. It's magnificent, sparkly pink, and it enters the top of your head, flowing down into the top of your head, stopping at your third eye, which is the space between your brows, and take a deep breath there. You are love. You see love. You are love. And as you breathe, the ball continues down through your face, softening your cheekbones, your jaw, down into your throat. And you take a deep breath there. I speak with love. Notice and observe everything that's coming. Just simply notice and take a deep breath. And the ball moves down into your heart. This pink ball of light, light in your heart. You take a deep breath there. You are love. You are love. And you move the ball of light down into your solar plex, right between the ribs. And take a deep breath there. As you power yourself with love. We were all unconditional love. We were meant to live this life through love. And as you breathe, the ball of pink light moves down to the sacral chakra around your belly button, just underneath. And you breathe there. And I live love through every encounter and every relationship. Love is the base. Notice, observe what comes up for you when you hear those words. Love in every encounter. Love in every relationship, including myself. Notice, observe, and take a deep breath in. And move the ball of light down to the base of your spine. It's pink light at the base of your spine. And breathe there. And breathe the light down through your legs, down through your feet, down through the floor. You are grounded in this love. May you be grounded in this love every day. Come back to this breathing exercise, this meditation. May the rest of your day be grounded in love in all that you do, in all that you encounter, in every experience that comes at you. And bring that ball back up through the legs, through the body, up through to the heart. And I am love. Take a deep breath in. Thank yourself for this meditation, for this day, for the love that you give yourself, for this moment in deciding to bring more love into your experiences. Even those heavy on the heart, it's love that will get you through them. Allow yourself to see the love in them, to feel the love in them. That doesn't mean that you don't feel sad. It means you love yourself enough to feel it, to move through it. Because as you move through it, it makes room for more joy. Joy doesn't replace it. It needs to go first. When you're ready, you can open your eyes, come back into the room. So thank you very much for joining me today. And I wish you much, 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 much love. And as you can tell, I'm very, very passionate on the subject of grief. So please reach out if you have any questions, any comments. And you can visit me on my website, chrissyann.com. There's a 15-minute free session. Please take advantage of that. And there's the Grief Let's Talk Grief Brunch coming up, and some new things coming up very soon. So stay tuned. And I love you very much.